Before we get started, please subscribe. And if you want to be really solid, like, share, and comment, and I'll answer any questions you might have. Thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Home Improvements. I'm the owner, Jamie Madison, your host. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do door casing and base molding in your house. Maybe you have one room that you want to do over, budgets are a little tight, and you want to save a couple dollars and try to do it yourself. I'm going to show you a couple tricks on how to do that. First trick I want to show you when doing door casing is you want to get yourself a combination square. And what I use this for is, if you see here, you can adjust the depth of the reveal of which your door casing is going to sit on the frame of the door. I'm going to show you what that is in just a moment. So if you're doing it in a room with the house where all the doors are already done in your house, you're going to want to adjust this tool to what the existing doors are. This way you have the same reveal on the new door that you're doing as the rest of the doors in your house. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so when I'm telling you reveal on your door jamb, this is what I'm talking about. This is the reveal that I'm talking about. This is the door jamb, and then once you put your door casing on, this is what you'll have left. Now you want that to be even going all the way around the door, and you want it to match up with the other doors in your house. This is what's known as a door jamb. And the reveal is once the casing is on, what is left of the jamb that is showing is called the reveal. And you want that to be even around the door, and you want it to match the rest of the doors in your house. So if you take the compound square and you adjust it to this, I'll show you how in a moment, then you can match that up with the rest of your doors. All right, so this is your combination square. So if the rest of your doors in your house are finished, you're gonna take the combination square and you're gonna loosen this little thing here. Loosen this nut, and that's gonna allow your square to move. Once you do that, you're gonna hold it against your door casing on your existing, and you're gonna slide this to your door jamb and tighten it down. Now, once you have done that, you can hold that up against your new jamb where you're doing your door, like this. Hold it flat up against the surface here. Take your pencil and mark it. And that's what you're gonna hold your door casing to, the top of that line, and it will match the rest of your doors. So again, you're gonna take your combination square and you're gonna mark your door jamb so that you're gonna hold your door casing to that mark. So you're gonna do the side, and you're gonna do the top. You're gonna do the side, and you're gonna do the top. Okay, so the next step, once you have taken your combination square and you mark the top of your door jamb and the sides of your door jamb, you're gonna take your tape measure and you're gonna take your measurements to cut your door casing. So all door casing is gonna be a 45-degree angle for your legs and a 45-degree angle for your tops, because if you take a 45-degree angle and a 45-degree angle, it makes a 90. So what you're gonna do to measure your sides, you already have your marks on the jambs that you put with your combination square. Take your tape measure, put it all the way to the floor. And measure to that line that you marked. We have 81 inches. Repeat that process and check the other side, because if your floor is on an angle or your door jamb ain't perfectly straight, it might not be 81 inches, because again, we want to keep that same reveal going around the door. So let's check the other side, all the way to the floor. This side is also 81 inches. So now we're going to do both of our door cases at 81 inches. Come with me to the saw and I'm going to show you how to cut that right now. All right, so this is a miter saw. This is the type of saw that you're gonna use to cut your door casing, to cut your base molding, to cut your crown molding, your chair rail, so on and so forth. Basically any moldings around your house, you're gonna wanna use this type of saw. So here's the angles right here. So if you move it 45, like I was telling you earlier here, and you just stop it at the 45, and if you got to cut it in the other direction, obviously you're going to spin it over here until where it says 45. That's always going to be for all your door casing. It's always going to be a 45-degree angle. So what you want to do is you want to mark out your door casing. I got a big piece of door casing on here so I can mark for both sides of the door on the one casing. So I'm going to mark 81 inches pulling from that side and 81 inches pulling from that side, and that'll be our two pieces. So you go ahead and pull 81 inches because that's what your mark was, and mark it. And then give yourself a little reference that that one's gonna go that way for your 45-degree angle for the right-hand side of the door. Now we'll pull from the left side of the board. Again, 81 inches. And then again, we'll make that little reference for the saw that we're gonna go in that direction. I like to mark the bottom edge as well. I'm gonna show this edge. So you got your saw, it's at a 45-degree angle. You're gonna wanna make sure that you're wearing eye protection, gloves, and you're gonna wanna, if you have jewelry on, tuck it away. You don't want anything in the saw or nothing. You're gonna wanna use all the proper earplugs, everything. I'm not in this video, but you're gonna wanna use that for sure. I've been doing this 30 years. That's no excuse, but it's better for me right now to explain everything and not have all that on, showing you on camera. But normally I would definitely myself always have the proper protection equipment doing any job. It doesn't matter, max, everything. You want to be in a well-ventilated area, the whole nine, okay? So let's get back to cutting real quick. So now that you got it marked and you're at a 45-degree angle on your saw, you want to check to make sure that your things line up. Once you know that your cuts line up like that, make sure your hands and everything are free of the saw, obviously, and go ahead and make your cut. That's your right leg. Now you're going to take your saw and you're simply going to spin it around for your other side to the 45-degree. Put your piece of wood back in and line that blade up again. Never touching the trigger, nothing. This, you're just lining the blade up, making sure that your cut's going to be where you want it. Once you line it up, make sure your the piece of wood is always to the back. This is called a fence. You want to make sure your wood is always seated flat, and flat against the fence and flat against the bottom when you're doing this. So once you've got your cut lined up to your saw, like so, you're going to make sure that your board's pushed to your fence and flat here. You're going to make sure your hands and everything are free of the blade, and then you go ahead and make your other cut. Now that we got our pieces cut, we're going to go inside and we're going to nail it on. Now that you cut your door casing, I'm going to go ahead and dry fit it. Make sure you're touching the ground, and make sure your casing is at your line up here. Okay? Before you nail it on, I'll just explain to you. Today we're using, again, you want to make sure you're wearing eye protection and everything. Again, I'm not, because I'm doing the video and explaining to you. The tool that we're using today is an 18 gauge. This is a coreless 18 gauge nailer. We're using 1.5 inch nails. If you have a different gun that you want to use or whatever, that's fine. That's what we're using today. I think this is a good gauge for door casing and base molding, so this is what I use. You can use different size nails, a little bit bigger for the base if you want. Once you got your base, your door casing good and the line lines up, you're gonna put it on your two marks. That's your side reveal, that's your top reveal we talked about, and then you go ahead and nail it. You're gonna nail the rest of that off all the way down using your combination square, making sure that that reveal stays good on the whole door. And then I'm gonna show you how to take your measurements for your top piece and cut that in just a moment. Okay, once you got your two door casings on your right and left side, you're gonna go ahead and measure the top. I like to measure short point to short point. What I mean by that is the short point of the miter that we cut. That's the long point, and that is the short point. So take your tape measure, put it from this one to this one. We have 28.5 inches, okay, from short point to short point. Now let's go mark that and we'll cut it on a saw. All right, so here's the leftover piece. What I like to do is I like to put the cut on one side first, okay? So you set your 45-degree angle. Make sure it's tight against the fence. Make sure your hands and stuff are free. Go ahead and make your first cut. Once you have your first cut, now you got your first short point. I hold it against the saw right to this edge here when I'm doing by myself, right? And I'll hook my tape here, and that's gonna keep it perfectly to the short point, right? Measure over 28.5. Mark your 28.5. That's your other thing, give you a reference. You're going on the opposite direction now. Right? So you're gonna move your saw blade to 45 the other direction. Make sure that you're against the fence and the bottom. Check where your cut's gonna be again. Once you're good, once you check your cut and you make sure that you're good, go ahead and make your other cut. Now that you got your top piece cut, go ahead and put it in. Make sure that your short point to short point is good. Tack it, come over here, tack it, and then nail it off. Don't worry about these little imperfections. That's because the door isn't perfectly square, and you're gonna go ahead and take some caulk and we'll caulk that up, and when you paint it, you'll never know. You can go ahead and take your caulk. Just fill that up. Clean off the excess. Hit all your nail holes with the excess. Just fill that in. Go around with a wet sponge, it'll be even better. Fill in your miters, and once you paint that, you'll never know. All right, now that our door casing is all done, because you gotta do your door casing first when you're doing this moldings. You finish your door casing, your base molding dives into your door casing. So let's talk about base molding. So this would be an inside corner, and to get this inside corner, you're gonna use that miter saw again, and you're gonna put it to a 45-degree angle and a 45-degree angle. That makes a 90-degree angle. But sometimes not all walls are a perfect 90-degree angle. Either when they were framed, they weren't framed at one, or over time they moved and they're not a 90-degree angle anymore. So there's one or two things you can do. You can just cut the two 45s and then caulk and paint the seam, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're never gonna see it. Or if you want to make your seam a little bit better, you can either get an angle finder. They make cheap ones, or they make more expensive ones that are digital. It's simply, you're gonna put it in a corner, you're gonna put it to the corner on both sides, and then it's gonna tell you the exact angle to set the saw to. I don't never do that. I've been doing base for so long and I never do that. Again, just caulk it, or there's another option. you can miter or a miter saw. So I'm gonna show you both ways today. I'm gonna show you how to just cut the double 45 and then caulk it, and I'm gonna show you how to use a miter saw if you wanna make that a little neater, or again, if you want, you can go buy that tool. To me, I never do. You're gonna have two most important angles in base molding. Usually they're gonna be a 45-degree angle or a 22-degree angle. That's like 90% of the time. You know those two angles and you're gonna be good. So let's take our first measurements here and then I'll show you how to cut these. So you wanna hold your tape measure all the way into the corner and all the way up against the base to your door casing here for your base molding to land into. We have 16 1/8 inches. And then your other side, you're gonna measure the same way. You're gonna put your tape measure all the way in the corner and measure your distance. So what I like to do, first way I'm gonna show you, I told you I'm gonna show you two ways. We're gonna do the 45 and a 45 to make our 90. And then the second way I'm gonna show you is with the coping saw. So the first way, let's get to the first way. So what I like to do is I like to cut my 45 on the piece of wood first. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Again, make sure you're wearing proper equipment. I'm not because I'm doing the video. All we did was we set our saw to 45 like we did on a door casing. We're holding our base molding now straight up and down against the fence though. That's the only difference. With the door casing, we laid our piece flat. With the base molding, you're gonna stand it up against the fence and then you're gonna cut your 45 like that, all right? After I get that 45, I like to lay my piece down here flat, take my tape measure, hook it to that long point. We call that the long point again, and I measure my 16th and the 1/8. I'll mark it. I'll mark it, and then I'll do a straight cut because it's going against the door casing. Make sure you're good. Stand it up against the fence again. Make your cut. Now basically same thing like the door. You're gonna change your saw to the other direction to make that other 45-degree cut. Excuse me. And you're gonna make that other 45-degree cut. Now that you have two 45-degree cuts in the opposite direction, that's gonna make your 90-degree angle. Let's go put it in and see how we did. All right, so now we got our pieces cut. We'll go ahead and put them in. And there you go. That's the first way you could do it. Now the second way is with the miter saw I was talking about, with the coping saw, excuse me. And I'm gonna show you how to cope this now next. All right, this is a coping saw. So if you don't wanna get an angle finder and you want the tightest seam possible and you're worried about doing a little bit of caulking and painting in the corner, I told you there's another option, and that's a coping saw. So the way to cut it is you just take your 45 that you cut before, you take your coping saw, you hold it on a 45-degree angle, like this, and you cut along this line here. And you always hold it at a bit of an angle, just like this. So you're gonna go ahead and make this first one. Stop there, back it out, come with a straight cut. Back it out. And I start from down here now. Let me show you another way you could do this too before this comes off. So you can also do that first one I showed you. And if you want, you can just flip this piece of base upside down in the saw. set your saw to just a little bit of an angle. Hold it up against that line and you can now cut that. That's second option. Just clean that piece up. And that's how you cope it. Let me show you what that's gonna do. So we got our coped piece. You can put that on and slide it up in there and it will be just as tight. So if you're gonna do the coping method and you're not gonna do the double 45 method, you don't need this 45 on this first cut. You can simply cut that a straight cut on both ends, and when you slide that into your corner, now your coping edge allows you to not worry about if this corner is square or not. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You take your coping piece with your flat cut, your straight cut, excuse me, and you slide it to it. And now you don't need to worry about if this wall is a true 45 or nothing. You're simply gonna fill that little bit with caulk, you're gonna paint it, and it's just as good as if you did the double 45s or if you did any other way. So there's gonna be two types of corners in your house. There's gonna be an inside corner and there's going to be an outside corner. I showed you how to do the inside corner. Now I'm gonna show you how to do this outside corner. The outside corner is kind of like the inside corner because it's a 45-degree angle again. Because once again, 245 degrees makes a 90-degree, okay? So this is your inside corner, this is your outside corner. Both 45-degree angles, just a little different. Now let me show you how to cut this one. Come with me. So for the outside corner, like I said, 45-degree angle again, right? So you're gonna move it to a 45 this way. And that gives you that type of 45 there, right? You're still gonna take your measurement to that other thing and everything. I'm just showing you how to make the outside corner now. Then you spin the saw around the other way, right? Take your measurements. And now you're gonna have an outside corner. Let's take a look. Outside corner. Now let's show you how to make that cut really quick, okay? So this is gonna be the short edge, the short point again. Long point, short point. So you're gonna measure from your corner, or your inside, that's gonna be your long point, right? On your corner over here. That's gonna be your long point, and that is gonna be your short point. So you measure over 20 1/8 of an inch. And when that's gonna be your 20 1/8 of an inch to make that cut. Okay, we're using an 18 gauge finish nailer with 1.5 inch nails. I think that's perfect. We got a 1/2 inch base, 1/2 inch sheetrock, that's an inch. That gives you a 1/2 inch in the studs. That's all you really need. So I wanted to just show you something else on the inside corner. Let's say you got a really long room and your base molding is not long enough. No problem. You're gonna do a 45-degree angle and then another 45-degree angle, and that's gonna lengthen it out. And when you caulk and paint that, it's gonna look good. Let me show you what I mean by that. So here you see we came up a little short of the other corner because the room is very long. So you're gonna put a 45-degree cut on this piece of base and the opposite 45-degree cut, the same 45-degree cut on the new piece of base, and you're gonna measure from the long point to the long point on the inside of the corner. Let me show you what I mean. So I have 13.5 inches from long point to long point. Let's go cut that. Okay, so the last cut you put on that board that came up short, you had a 45-degree angle on that cut. You shouldn't have to move the saw. You're gonna start with that same 45-degree angle on your extension piece that you're gonna use. So we're at a 45, put your first cut on. That's our long point. Lay it flat. 13.5 inches we need. Let's take that and run it over 13.5. And I transfer that line to the top. And remember, that was our long point again, so you don't even have to change the saw. You're gonna keep the saw right where it is again. You're gonna line your saw up, make sure your cut's good. Make your cut. Let's go see how we did. All right, now that you got your piece, you're just gonna put it on. And nail it. Once you caulk this and paint it, you'll never see it. And that's how you extend a piece of base molding.